Chat, we finally get football this month, August 29th, kickoff for the NCAA football. Today, we're going to be talking about three teams who I think are going to continue to make improvements. One team that is going to make improvements this year and have significant increase in win totals, and then the other two teams I think are going to make improvements within 2 to 3 years. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First team, UCLA. UCLA over there with Bob Chesney. I think that is a great hire. Bob Chesney, he's won at every single level from high school to D2 to D1. He is coming from JMU. He took JMU to the playoffs last year. He had significant increases in offensive efficiency year over year at JMU. And Bob Chesney, during Big Ten Media Days, talked about building a culture of understanding from the players that he has a plan for them, right? He is tailoring each player and tailoring a plan surrounding each and every single one of them so that they can be successful. When asked about what success in year one looks like, he is talking about attacking every day with urgency. And that is what you want to hear from a new hire in the head coach position, especially for the UCLA team that went 3-7 last year. They showed flashes of potential. They beat a number 7 ranked Penn State. We know what happened after that between James Franklin and Penn State, but we're not going to get into that. I think UCLA has a chance to really bump up that win column because one, they're in the Big Ten, and two, they missed the big three in the Big Ten this year. They missed Ohio State, and they miss Indiana, right? They do play Oregon, they do play Michigan, and they do play USC. So I do think those are going to be their toughest games. But if they lose to Oregon and walk away with a win column from Michigan and USC, I think that they have a chance to be an 8, maybe 9, 10 win team and may be able to sneak their way in the playoffs if they were to beat that Oregon team. And the real key to success for Bob Chesney is how is he going to unlock Nico Emiliava, right? Nico last year, he had 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. And he has a really difficult job making sure that he gets an understanding from Nico that the ball is the most precious thing on the field, right? We cannot have those turnovers. We cannot have those turnovers. 7 interceptions is absolutely on it just cannot happen, right? In 2025, they averaged about 180 passing yards, 139 rushing yards. They only scored 18 points per game and allowed 33 points. So he's really going to have to focus on getting a middle ground between the defense and the offense, right? You don't want to get completely out of whack, but you want to bring those to a centralized area, right? Taking the 18 points per game and maybe scoring, 24, 25 points, and then dropping that 33 points allowed down to, that 2019 area. You don't have to be a top 20 ranked defense, but you have to put your best foot forward and making sure that these teams aren't just running laps around each and every single one of your players, right? The next team that we're going to get into, and I think this team is going to be successful within the next 2 to 3 years. Both these teams, it's going to be Florida with John Summerall and Kentucky with Will Stein. And the more I look at Will Stein and I look at how successful he is as a QB whisperer, the more excited I am to watch this Kentucky team play. Yes, Kentucky is in the SEC and they face some tough nine game stretches with there being 9 games played in the SEC. But guess what? This is college football, and you have to get the job done no matter what. I think it's going to take him a while to get adjusted. But Will Stein, he has coached some of the best college quarterbacks in the past 4 to 5 years, right? Let's go over some of Will Stein's accomplishments. He doubled quarterback production for Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel, and Dante Moore year over year. Bo Nix finished with a 74% accuracy, Dylan Gabriel 72% accuracy, and Dante Moore 72% accuracy. So with Kenny Mekney, he's going to be the quarterback for Kentucky right now. I think that Will Stein has the ability to unlock him. And then some of the other accomplishments that he has as an offensive coordinator over there at Oregon. Oregon was the only team in the 2 previous seasons to win back-to-back 13-game seasons, right? That says something. Even though they haven't made it to the promised land, to that national championship, they're knocking on the door each and every single year. They were 16th out of all college teams in yards per game at 455. So if Will Stein can kind of replicate that offense and then put in his own flavor and how it fits into that Kentucky team, I think they have a great opportunity to be great. And during his speech, he was talking about how Stein's mentality is to feed the studs, right? He had a very balanced offense, right? He had 3 running backs at Oregon who had over 5.5 yards per carry. He also had over 6 receivers at Oregon with 26 catches. Hey, That's a blueprint for success in itself right there. It was not balanced either way, right? Let's look at their yards per game at that Oregon. He had 200 rushing yards per game and about 253 passing yards per game. So that shows you that he is not only able to get a run offense together, but he is also able to put a pass offense together. It is not going to be heavy handed either way. Looking at that Kentucky schedule, it's definitely tough, but hey, he's got to get the job done. He has Alabama, Texas A&M, and then those are the two games before the very tough schedule at the end of the year, right? If you look at the end of the year for Kentucky, it is absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. At the end of the year, they face LSU, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Florida, Missouri, and then to end out the year at Louisville. And I think a very important game for both Will Stein and John Summerall is going to be that Florida versus Kentucky game, right? Both these coaches are in their first year. Both these coaches are trying to set up a standard for their football program, and neither one of them are going to want to give up that game, right? Those are going to be the brownie points that you need. And John Summerall over there at Florida is going to do a stellar job. His main goal during this offseason was to focus on the strength and conditioning of the offensive and defensive line. As you know, in Florida, their biggest component of Florida football is going to be offensive and defensive line play. John Summerall said he went into spring camp and was questioning the strength of those linemen, and he was able to build a program around making sure that each and every single one of them is prepared to attack the season. We do not know who the quarterback is coming out of Florida, but we do know John Summerall is going to have some standards going into that Florida offense, right? Florida last year, they were a shell of themselves. They did not have a good season. And I think John Summerall is going to be able to turn this program around very significantly over the next 2 to 3 year period. Taking a look at their schedule this year, their first 3 games are kind of iffy, right? You play Florida Atlantic University, Campbell, then Auburn, and then they get into the meat and potatoes of the SEC with Ole Miss, Missouri, South Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida State, right? I can see them beating a Missouri team, South Carolina, maybe getting a sneaky win versus Oklahoma and Vanderbilt and Florida State, right? So looking at that, I can see them being a 2-loss team or 2 or 3 loss team and continue to build on the success year over year. So I'm excited to see all these different coaches and what they can bring to the table, right? Another team that is not on this list, but that has a new coach, is going to be Penn State, right? You got Matt Campbell over there at Penn State. And during his speech, he talked about the details of making sure that they win. He talked about the details and the tradition of college football. His main goal is to prepare his football players and make sure that they put the best product on the field that aligns with the traditions of Penn State. And each and every single one of these first-year head coaches kind of wowed me and kind of won the audience with their speeches, right? The only person that did not impress me as a first-year head coach was Kyle Whittingham and his kind of mantra and thought process behind the Ohio State game. Right? You look at Ohio State; they were business as normal at Big Ten Media Days. Each and every single player and coach was aligned with the 3 goals that each of one of them stated. No individual goals, by the way. Julian saying his big 3 goals: win the Big Ten championship, beat Michigan, win the national title. Ryan Day, Jeremiah Smith, they all said the same thing. And when Kyle Whittingham was talking about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, he said it should not be built on hatred. I don't know if you can check the temperature in the room, but Kyle Whittingham, that was not the right answer, right? You should have just avoided that whole not built on hatred, because at the end of the day, Ohio State-Michigan rivalry is actually insane. That game is circled for each and every single one of those Ohio State players. That game should be circled for each and every single one of those Michigan players. And saying it shouldn't be built off hatred. Yes, hatred is a strong word, but at the end of the day, Michigan Ohio State is one of the biggest rivalries in college football, and you have to kind of read the room as a Michigan head coach and know that that game is probably the most important game on your schedule. If you take a look at Michigan's schedule this year, there's no game bigger than that Ohio State game, right? Yes, you want to go and you want to take it week by week, but you want to have 10 to 15 minutes each and every single day in practice to make sure that you're ready for that Ohio State game, right? You got Michigan, Oklahoma week 2. You got Penn State maybe week 6 and Indiana week 7. You got UCLA the game before Ohio State. But to end the year, beating that Ohio State team and ruining their chances to go to the playoffs, which they're not going to, that would kind of set the standard and the culture of, hey, we're going to go in each and every single year to make sure that we accomplish these 2 to 3 goals, and Ohio State should be featured in every single one of them. So those are going to be your first year head coaches. You know, I talk about Lane Kiffin enough on this channel, so we'll get into more and hear him as a head coach later. But those are some of my breakdowns of the first year head coaches, how they performed in media days, and the 3 teams that I think are going to make significant improvements in that first year and then 2 to 3 years down the lines. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I got a lot of videos coming along the way. First week of college football is August 29th. I'm going to be dropping some schedule predictions for the top 5 teams that I think are going to do well. Maybe Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Ole Miss, and LSU. So look forward to those 5 videos that week of August 29th. And I got a lot of gems coming your way. So make sure you guys stay tuned, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you in the next one.